Hello, this is Esteban Rubio, and this will be my religious diversity project on my religious journey here at Cal Poly. But first, a little bit of history. I grew up Catholic on both sides of my family, my mother's and my father's. And I ended up going to Mass every Sunday, our family of 6, and catechism most Sundays afterwards for at least a couple of hours. When I was younger, it was mostly out of habit that I went to Mass and catechism without complaining. But as I grew older, I began to take more and more lessons from the Mass and the pastor, and began to contemplate more on what was being taught at Mass. But it was still just part of how I was raised. It was part of what my parents believed, so they taught it to me as what I should believe as well. Adding to that, there wasn't a lot of religious diversity in Gilroy, with the majority of the population being Hispanic. A lot of the churches were either Catholic or another different variety of Christianity. When I first came to Cal Poly, I wanted to continue practicing my faith, so I set out with a couple of my friends to go find a church that would fit us. After going to a couple, including Cavalry and the Newman Center on campus, we weren't able to find something that really fit with what we believed. So, with Crew on campus, my friend and I have joined their ministry team on the tech side and have attended most of the masses for the past 2.5 years that we've been at Cal Poly. Crew is an interdenominational Christian organization on campus that meets once a week, every week except for finals week, to hold ministry for the people who attend Crew. They seek to welcome all students, especially those who are not Christian, into their group in order to make everybody feel welcome and safe, and to build a religious relationship with God. When I started taking the religious discussion class, I became more and more curious about the core beliefs of other religions and how they differed from the beliefs that I hold to be true. So I decided to talk to a couple people in the community and see what religion means to them and what beliefs they hold to be true. The first person I decided to talk to was one of my friends.
My name is Sajjad Aga Ehsan, and I'm a Shia Muslim.
How would you describe your main or core religious beliefs?
To live your life in a way that supports, to live your life the way God intended, to have a set of ideals, to have a set of ideals and ideology.
I also reached out to several professors on campus, and one of the ones who got back to me was a computer science professor, Professor Sang.
My name is John Sang. I am a professor in the computer science department, and I am a Christian. I think to be religious, I think, means to believe in some sort of entity outside of what we can see that exists and maybe governs how the world operates. I think Christianity, the primary belief is that as humans, we have a kind of fallen nature that's not inherently good, and that if we believe in Jesus, that kind of redeems us.
Another interesting story from my interview with Professor Sang is how he became a Christian and why he decided to continue being a Christian.
So I grew up my parents grew up Buddhist, but then at some point when they came to the US, they started going to a Christian church, and then I went to church too, and so I went to church as I was a kid. But it wasn't until I went to college that I really felt like my own beliefs or my religion was my own belief. And that was because when I went to college, I started meeting other students who I felt like they were really smart people, and their belief was so strong, and then I started thinking, wow, how can like these really intelligent people have a religion at the same time, and how can they kind of rectify that in their mind? Because I think at the point in high school I was thinking like, oh, if someone's really smart, uh, they probably don't believe in any religion. And but then when I went to college, I started meeting these people, and then I think what really settled it for me in college was that I started to view um, the Bible and Christianity as history. And if I look at it in that perspective, and that's how I realized, and that's why I believe it's true, that it's a historical kind of representation of events.
And lastly, I talked to one of the fathers at the Newman Center about his opinions and beliefs.
So my name is Father Jerry Robinson. I am a Roman Catholic priest. I am a Jesuit and the director of the Newman Catholic Center at Cal Poly, which also serves Cuesta College. Religious implies being part of some kind of a community, some kind of a group. Whether it's Baptist, whether it's Catholic, whether it's Mormon, whether it's Islam, Judaism, there's a group or a community there. I do think that religious communities of the various faiths, like some of which I mentioned, help people to develop spirituality because they have this kind of communal base that they share where people help each other to grow. The core belief is that death is not an end, that life comes from death, that actually dying and rising is almost a rhythm in life. We have to leave something behind or die to it to grow spiritually or to grow physically or whatever it might be. To be specific, that's what the basic Christian mysteries are about. The dying of Christ and the resurrection is kind of like writ large, but the sharing in the Eucharist, the communion, the Mass that Catholics celebrate and some other Christians do, is a sharing, as St. Paul says, it's a sharing in the death and resurrection of Christ. That we are saying when we're nourished with the body and blood of Christ in the Eucharist, that we are, in the words of St. Augustine, becoming what we receive. Christ, the one who gave his life for the life of the world, we're becoming people who give ourselves for the life of others.
During the course of these interviews, there's been a lot of moments where I paused and reflected on what I was learning from each group and each person. Religion is something that they use to guide their lives and to make a change in a positive way for them and the people around them. And I think if people are able to put aside their differences and focus on some similarities, such as the desire to help those around us and to be nice to people, then a lot of change can be enacted in this world. If we only work together, no matter how many different religious groups there are, I don't know if I'm ready to declare myself a Catholic for the rest of my life. I would need to spend more time reflecting inward on myself, as well as attending several of each of the meetings or masses of these different groups in order to determine if I would want to switch. But for now, I will say I am a Catholic. But I will also say that I, no matter what, want to help others around me and enact a positive change in this world.